we're going to keep this one pretty simple to the point. The Rangers, who were kind of begging for cap space, they made a way to make some cap space. As it turns out, Ryan Reeves did, in fact, request a trade against, or just prior to the LA Kings game that happened last night. So it looks like a pretty quick turnaround. Reeves requested a trade and is traded less than 12 hours later. Money's money. And Reeves was contributing and doing nothing to his team. He was honestly a part-time player at this point. Seems like the Rangers' new identity, fourth line, is speed, even though Ryan Carpenter is on the slower side, but regardless. It just seems like Reeves was no longer a fit for the Rangers. Since he had gotten hurt prior to the season last year, when he did something to his knee last year, he just never really looked the same. Did Reeves? He always looked just a little bit slower. He couldn't keep up, and timid to fight too. He played 99 games with the Rangers. I believe he only had 3 or 4, maybe 5 fights. So it's not like he was even really doing that part. We kind of got him to just, chuck knucks at anyone that took liberties at our players. And there was more than a couple occasions where, Rangers would get hit, get hurt, and then there would just be no response. But listen. It is what it is. I have zero ill will against Ryan Reeves. I actually hope he does really well in Minnesota. I think it's really funny that him and Marcus Foligno are going to be playing together now, especially after Reeves had that post of him just clobbering Foligno in the friggin' side of the head when the Rangers played Minnesota earlier this year. But enough about that. Let's move on. It's like, what does this mean for the Rangers? So right now, assuming the Rangers do not call anybody up, which I do not anticipate them doing, nor do I what I expect them to do. So it wouldn't make sense to call anybody up right now. You have an extra forward, you have an extra defenseman, and I'm not going with nobody's injured. So there's not really much of a point in making a call up right now. Getting a 23-man roster and hurting your cap situation. The Rangers are projected to have just over $4 million. I'm sorry, $6.6 million in cap space at the trade deadline. That is huge. The Rangers right now, just looking at this team, I promise you right now, if this is the team the Rangers are going into the playoffs with, then we are in deep shit. Ideally, it would look more something like this with a new. Oh God, I don't know. You would need even more than that. To tell you the truth, fucking Barclay Goodrow, get him off of the goddamn second line. Hold on the story. Fact of the matter is now see how I'm getting sidetracked so fast. The fact of the matter is now the Rangers have money to do stuff at the trade deadline, approximately $6.6 million. At the trade deadline, I fully expect the Rangers to acquire 2 middle 6 forwards or a top 6 and a fourth line forward. Probably a veteran defenseman on the back end if Jones and Schneider if they don't hold that much faith in Jones and Schneider. I doubt they get a backup goaltender because if Halak ever goes down, God forbid, you got Louis Domingue in the minor leagues, Dylan Garand, and more goalies than we know what to do with. So I'm not really worried about the goaltending situation. Just for me, looking at this Rangers team, if they were going to get anything, I would want to make it so the Goodrow is never higher than the fourth line because I don't think he's any more than the fourth line player, nor has he ever showed that. I don't know. I miss Frank Vetrano, Andrew Kopp. What 2 great deadline acquisitions those were last year. You kind of hope the Rangers could replicate that in terms of getting productivity out of guys they get to help the playoff push. Maybe not Justin Braun type, but definitely a type like Vetrano and Kopp that could just help round out that middle 6, make the Rangers a more dangerous team. I know people want to go on and on about the whole Patrick Kane thing. I really don't think the Rangers are going to get Patrick Kane, and I want to double down on that. The only way that I think the Rangers would get Patrick Kane is if they acquire him and he immediately signs an extension for absolute pennies. So it's not like you're trading for a rental player. Something along the lines of trading XOXO or X, Y, and Z for Patrick Kane. He signs a 2-year, $2 million extension. Whether he's making $1 million a year or $2 million a year is totally up to him. I really don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't think Patrick Kane's going to go for that. Nor do I think he should, especially when he can make tens of millions. I'm not going to make tens of millions. Well, actually, on a longer contract, yeah, tens of million dollars elsewhere. I don't see him doing that for the Rangers. I don't see him doing that with the Rangers. I see him, if he does get acquired by the Rangers, it's going to be an overpay. We're going to lose him for absolutely nothing, and then we're going to regret losing the assets in a really good draft because it's probably going to take a first-round pick plus to get Patrick Kane, plus a young asset. The only thing I see is a mistake. So hopefully the Rangers do not go that route unless Patrick Kane signs a 2-year extension at just pennies on the dollar so we can afford to keep him going in the future. But irregardless of that, the fact of the matter is that the Rangers finally have cap space to do something today and tomorrow at the trade deadline. So, I wish Ryan Reeves nothing but the best. Hopefully he does well in Minnesota, and And that's really all I got for this. Fact of the matter is, Rangers got cap space, and to tell you the truth, looking at this team, there's not really any more cap dumps left on this team. I think Sammy Blais is playing fine as a fourth liner. He'll never live up to the Pavel Buchnevich expectations, so there's no point in getting rid of him just because he's not as good as Pavel Buchnevich. I think he's just fine on that fourth line. He's going to get faster as his feet get back under him. He's still recovering from that torn MCL, ACL, whatever it was. No way you can trade Yaroslav Halak. He's got a full no-movement clause. He sure as hell is not waiving it. And, yeah, we will survive and thrive and move on from here. You guys comment below your thoughts on the Ryan Reeves trade, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.